All right, Colin. Welcome to the Colin and Monty Show. This is Monty Sanford and Colin O'Sullivan.
Good
Colin,
morning.
good morning.
Happy Sunday.
Yeah, happy Sunday. We got a pretty busy little Sunday going on. I've had 2 cups of coffee so far this morning.
Is that a lot?
That's the standard. That's
Okay.
You know what? Let me just share with you just to begin. I drink coffee to about right here, and then it gets cold, and so I lose this part, and then I make another cup. So really, I drink 1 cup before it
I
gets
like
cold.
cold coffee.
Really?
I'm not a big I don't need my coffee to be hot.
Mm.
I think that's the main reason I put in like a cream is just to cool it down. But then I'll
Oh,
do just cold water or ice cubes if cream is not an option.
yeah. Well, what's on your mind this week? What's been rolling through the mind and heart of Colin O'Sullivan?
Man, there's been just a lot going on, trying to not to be get caught up in the stress of the world. Seems like we're supposed to be worked up all the time. It's kind of like easy to get caught up in all that,
Kind
you
of
know.
like uh, kind of like they if you pay attention and you get sucked into it, it's kind of like they hijack your emotions, like your stability and your comfort. It's like puts you on edge and it makes you super uncomfortable and worried and all these things. It's like they're just, in some ways, it's kind of like they hijack you.
Oh, 100%. It's just like
Right.
overwhelming. It's like you want to be informed, but I don't. I don't even really know how informative it is. But yeah, what about you?
Uh, well, I feel like it's just been on the go, just going. I actually turned off and haven't been paying attention to the worldly affairs, and so um, yeah, I actually been feeling a little bit better because I think maybe yesterday, maybe last night, I caught just a couple seconds of something, and it's the first time in maybe at least a week that I even watched anything on the worldly affairs, and it's like, my God, I'm just focused on something else that actually feels good. I think there came a point where you feel like it's kind of the same old rigmarole, as they say. It's like the same old story.
Well,
And
yeah. How much has the change? Okay, because you tuned out for a week. How much has the story even changed? Do you think?
I don't think so. It's the same, pretty much same thing. There's a few details different, but uh, if you look back at, maybe some YouTubers that you watch or whatever, it's still the same. People saying the same thing pretty much.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. It's like that's my biggest thing is just because everybody has opinions, which I think they should have opinions, but I'm maybe more interested in how are you dealing with it? Like, how are you keeping healthy in all this?
Yeah, that's a
So,
good question.
just
Well,
that's
how about you? How are you doing it?
well, I I try to, just my biggest thing is just to remember that like the reality is, you know, the trees outside, the air I breathe, um, my family, my friends, and And that's the reality that I can say is certain, you know, and the rest of it just seems so clouded that I just try not to get too caught up in it. And I think like reading and breathing, just doing meditation, it's really important. And all kind of grew up thinking that I had to change the world, or, you know, and the older I get, more overwhelming that is. It's the world, it's a big place. And um, then I just don't know where that responsibility starts and stops. But I do think my zone of influence is just really local. Like I said, my family and friends. And what about you?
I think that's right. I mean, I kind of felt like, maybe we we grew up with that same mindset a little bit, like how are we gonna help create a better world or whatever. And I think as you get older, you see that what you can do is um, like there is no like, oh, I'm gonna go save the world. I'm gonna go, make some extraordinary uh, thing or be the savior of some environmental cause or something. I just I'm so over that. It's so exhausting. I mean, I remember going through graduate school, um, and it was so exhausting to be in graduate school and like environmental program because it was all this doom and gloom. It wasn't like, oh, look at all this great stuff that's happening. It was very doom and gloom. And I'm not sure why it had to be that way, but I think it was just maybe the advisor and what we were reading, because we'd have a lab group and we'd read certain things, but it was very, very doom and gloom, like a little too much. And I understand the point of it. The point is to like understand what our situation is. But there was a lot less focus on, hey, here's the problem. Let's work on solutions. Like here are some solutions, and let's just get into some new ideas of what we could do. It wasn't that. It was more, look at all the problems. And it's just exhausting, and I think over time, getting older, it's like I wanted away from that. I didn't want to be part of a problem and like describing a problem. I wanted to be part of a solution. Um, and as you go to older, I think part of the solution that we come to understand is uh, the solution is not always out there. The biggest solution to the world's problems is solving our own internal stuff that we got going on, becoming the best person that we can be, so that we can be a better person, a better, a better son, a better brother, a better family member, because it all starts like with you and your friend network and your family network, and that's your community on a small scale, and then it kind of goes out from there. But to try to solve some enormous environmental problem, like I'm I'm over that. That's not where I'm at in life. I'm just trying to be the best person I can be to family and friends, and hopefully have a little bit of happiness in this world, which I'm fairly good at. I do a lot of exploring and adventuring and whatever. So, um, but I think that big thing of trying to change the world and make this big impact, for me, it got to be too exhausting. And at some point, I never thought about this, and just thought, oh, I'm gonna drop this off at the door. I didn't do it that way. It just happened kind of naturally. Um, I think the time that I had when you were up at Orcas Island visiting, uh, it was happening around that time. Definitely. I started seeing the world in a very different light. And I didn't really see myself like trying to tackle a big world problem or something. I had gone from doing that, trying to focus on big world issues, to trying to focus internally. And maybe if I could tackle a big world issue later on, that's fine. But that's not where life was taking me. I was just trying to work right here. And for me, that was going to be good enough. That was going to be good enough for this life to be able to work on my own internal issues, and be a better person. So I think when you show up as a better person, a better, like more, a person with that's more authentic, has very high integrity, um, that is what you're doing. You are creating a better world, even if it's within your local family group or local friend group or whatever. So that's kind of where I got with the whole thing.
Okay, that makes me think of a few things. Like, I had a really just amazing person I worked with. She was part of the urban forestry, and they would just go and, any of the trees that were in the right of way, they would like assess, take down dangerous trees that were dying, that were, potential hazards. But she was really overwhelmed about the environmental situation, and talking to her, like, all the trees in the city were getting killed. And we worked on the 14th floor of this building, in the city county building. And when I looked out at the city, this was in Indianapolis, I just saw trees everywhere. It was amazing because you had a pretty good view. Indianapolis is so flat that you can see like pretty far, And in her view, the whole city was dying. The flora was just dying. And one of the most impressive things, since I'm not from there, that I had was just how full of life the city was. On, like, trees just grew everywhere. It was this constant, you had this battle of like, you would just look behind the fence in public right away or whatever, and like everything was overgrown. And so part of that was just the perspective was so overwhelming that she had to see the death and come from the situation, from the death of all these trees, which is horrible to see. And especially if you're really connected to that part of life, it is so hard to see at a granular level. But I wonder if it's not better to look at the world as this place of life that just, you can go to, the bottom of the Arctic Ocean, and I'm saying something, but it doesn't have to be the Arctic Ocean, just at the bottom, that's like totally uninhabitable area in the ocean. And they find bacteria living off the volcanic vents at the bottom of the sea, and they find these like chemophores that that are living. And then you just go at this world, just one of the most amazing things is that life just is so strong and wants to grow. And so there's kind of a what is it? Just this elevated feeling of humans that they can destroy life.
Mm.
And almost then it's taught to us that that's why we're here, is to just take destroy life. And I got that feeling in college too. And that was my training. And, but at the same time, like these plastic companies are just creating or pesticide companies are creating these bio weapons that are to kill, everything except for like a specific type of animal or plant or whatever, all these things. But the main message is that you and I are the problem. And so, and that humans just want death. And it's so weird because I've traveled not as many places as you, but everywhere I go, I haven't really met many people that are like, fuck, I just wish everybody was dead. That's not my general feeling. I've met, Muslims, Hindus, Christians, like atheists, like there's, I just don't know. So I don't think that's super healthy. It was really hard for me, I think, to live in that place. And it made me feel guilty for living. And I think the issue is that in that state of guilt and then anger because you see all this death around you, my attitude towards people could be very negative, and it was justified. And I could justify it so easily.
Mm.
Like they just deserved it. They deserved my disdain. And ultimately, though, to bring it back to what you said, it was ultimately like just such a disdain on myself. And I don't know if everybody takes it that way necessarily, but man, I didn't want to live in, it was like the air I was breathing was not my air. The blood running through my body was not my blood. It was just it was just a knife cutting into the earth.
Yeah.
And that just is such a bad way of seeing the world, to separate humans or humanity from nature and from the earth, which is a totally, I believe, an ignorant view, because every piece of us comes from the earth and from the sun and from, like, obviously the sun is energetically, but yeah, I just don't, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in that unhealthy state, you're willing to allow for some like pretty negative things and do things that are harmful, maybe, that otherwise you just wouldn't accept.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that if I was to look at like how I might start my day in the era of I want to change the world and humans are super bad and look at all the damage and destruction we're causing. Oh my God, people are a real problem. The teachings of at the university. If I was to wake up every day and that's what I'm reading and that's what I'm absorbing all day long, is that kind of energy. It's just so negative. And then take, for example, like how we might have, when we were on Orcas Island, how we might have gone for a walk. We sit down by the water's edge and watch the raindrops drop on the pond or whatever, or sit out and look at the view and just be thankful for what we have in this time. I mean, just that small comparison of how you'd go through your day. I mean, that's such a big, for me, that was such a big transition. It's like, oh my God, I feel so good. Like, and then you're broadcasting out different energy. If what you start your day with and what you do all day long is all that negativity, well, you're probably going to get more negativity. Like, look at how everything's death and dying, and look at how everything's a problem. When you transition into the next phase, which is the positivity and offering gratitude and doing meditation and whatever it is your practice might be, got all this positive energy. When you send out positive energy, like, you have a bunch of positivity here and you're sending that out, and that's what you're broadcasting. You're not getting it back a bunch of negative stuff. You're getting back more positive. And I think for me, in my own experience, I think you're attracting the same. So you want to broadcast out a bunch of negative stuff. Well, that's probably the world you're going to live in. You want to broadcast out a bunch of positive stuff, and that's what's in here. Well, you're probably getting more positive stuff in your life. And I sometimes relearn that, honestly. Like, I'm not the kind of person that is able to do that every day of the week, 365 days a year, but sure is a lot better than what it used to be. And I think when you have that when you realize that, and you have that kind of positivity emanating from the moment you wake up, or once you start your daily practice, whether that's meditation or going for a walk with Henry, you're having that kind of positivity. I think that just helps bleed into the rest of your day in a much better way. At least for me, it definitely made my days better. And I sent you a picture like a couple of weeks ago of my coffee spot out by the little river. And my coffee spot doesn't have to be in the mountains next to a little river, but I can be in the middle of a city and be just perfectly happy too. But I think that's just so important to remember, is because that positivity, it's just the thing that helps get you to, how we change the world. How do you make it a better place? It's not about describing all the problems and getting absorbed into the world's chaos and whatever. It's more about, focusing on yourself and focusing on how you can be happy throughout the day after day. That's kind of how I've seen it and how I've experienced it. What about for you? Do you feel like that's different for you in some ways?
Well, I think that even the positivity, it's just being open to see that, everything is a complementary of each other. The yin and yang or whatever is that, yeah, if you focus on one or the other, that's what you're going to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about even I was thinking about homelessness, and I've heard some very negative things about homeless people. It's probably everybody has. And I've had negative, I've been on my way to work and somebody asked me for money and I'm dreading going to work. And I'm just like, and I'm not making a lot of money. I'm like, man, it's not the time, and so that's hard for me. So I can understand the negativity, but I also, I would interact with homeless people downtown Indianapolis, and like there could be, all of them. Some people are really fucking hurting, and I could tell they had issues, but they're human beings, and it's just, I think that's kind of for me, something that I could never look at them as just as a cause for all the harm, economically in the world. And so something that that is so negative, and so, because people are pretty can be pretty can just emotional about it, about homeless people. Like, it's just, if you don't have that view, and I'm just using this as an example, it's something that because it's so, there's so such a heated thing, and I didn't see them so negatively. I didn't want them to hurt. I didn't want them to be in a situation where they, they were in there. I wanted some sort of protection, which is for them, but yeah. So I think just the way we perceive things is so powerful, and yeah, if you can bring that into your daily life. I also think that I also have the right to, have bad days.
Yeah.
And not not be happy or thankful all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I still get to have that humanness.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been trying to, I think, for the last few years, is like, having a bad day it's not the end of it. It's not failing as a human person, or trying to be, you know, um, whatever enlightenment. That's part of it, you know. Yeah. But what I don't get to do is then, like, make that somebody else's problem. Yeah. It's like, how do I deal with these emotions and these feelings in a way that isn't harmful? And that's my goal, is not to, like, have a perfect morning, or be a perfect person, because those people are so irritating, the perfect people. Like, all right, but yeah, it's just like, be a mess, be happy, be sad. If somebody cuts me off, like, I get angry, but now, I guess, that's a good one too, because how are you with traffic? Do you ever get road rage or anything?
I don't get road rage, but I'd be like, if somebody's following me too closely, it'd be like, what's that guy's problem? Or what's that person's problem? Like, get away from me. Or why are you in such a hurry?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I used to and still I'm like, I'm prone to it. And so, and just, just changing my view of, like, first off, it's their road too. Like, they're paying taxes. They get that road just as much as I do. And two, like, just this little self-awareness of all the times I've messed up driving. That's been helpful. Just,
yeah.
Last week I had somebody, like, I was just changing lanes and there was plenty of room, but I didn't know how fast they were going. And so I pulled in to the lane, and this guy was, like, on me all of a sudden. And then he pulled to the side of me, and it was like honking and yelling at me. And I was just like, I used my turn signal, like, everything. I didn't know what else to do, but I totally I knew how he was feeling at that moment, because he was getting somewhere. And so then he just shifted and just, like, drove ahead of me. So really all that happened was, like, instead of him cutting me off, I cut him off, because he was just going to go around me either way. Like, he was going to go ahead of me and, like, cut me off, or I was going to cut him off and he was going to have to, and so it's silly, but I still felt like, man, I didn't want to ruin his day.
Yeah.
And that was more like, I wasn't really pissed at him. I was just like, oh, I felt bad. And then I felt, like, embarrassed. And then I felt like, this guy's then I was afraid that he was going to harm somebody, because he was driving so crazy.
Well, I doubt you ruined his day. Probably already had, was already, like, ready to blow up at some other issue. And I was
I
just,
think, yeah,
yeah, probably drop a penny and he'd get upset.
I know, man. So, but I totally get it. Like I've been there,
Yeah.
and all that is, all I'm saying is that is perspective, you know, like how do you perceive the world? And those are the times that are, you know, can change people's life. Because I'm not that guy writing somebody's ass
Yeah.
in you know, engaging with them. Oh, I have something bigger too that I can talk about. But what are you thinking?
Oh, just uh, the transition, I think, from the problems that we talked about into just the different perspective. One of the things that really shifted for me was seeing the natural world as um, the only okay thing. It's only the natural world. It's only like wild nature that was the target, whereas the built environments like a bad, cities are bad, and uh, all this building is bad, and all this construction stuff is bad. I used to I used to think like that because that's what going through the university, it's kind of what you're taught. And I thought it was so enlightening to get away from that and to see, like, go throughout the rest of the world and see built environments and how people are enjoying places that are built and whatever. It's just, I went from a place of like Orcas Island and the mountains uh, to seeing cities and beautiful architecture from 3,000, 5,000 years ago to today. And I can sit there and I can just be in awe about it. I don't have I don't have ill feelings about all of it. That was tiring for me, but it was a good transition to to actually change your perspective from only nature is good, only like wild nature versus something that's built. It just it was good. It was healthy, I think, to see that, because I think part of the story, the human story, is looking at the whole picture. It's not about one little snippet of what you decide is okay or what's not okay. Um, it's about the whole picture. So for me, that was really freeing to be able to enjoy that and kind of revel in that, and be awe-inspired about what people are actually capable of. I mean, the human the human potential is just amazing. You go look around the world and people have been doing amazing things for 20,000 years, and we're still doing amazing things. It's just that sometimes we slip backwards. so so that's what I was thinking about. It's just that transition of perspective. It's a good perspective I have, at least for me, than in my experience. Not to say that anybody else should change their perspective or whatever, but it felt a positive transition for me, for sure.
I spent maybe the last 2 years trying to connect to nature in a city, and what does that mean? And
Mhm.
because yeah, I had the same feeling. Every car was, even though I drove every day, and cars were just killing everything, roads were killing everything. And so I spent a lot of time just trying to make that connection to nature in a highly urban area. And why I think that's important, and nature is important, and not, like you said, not just a wild nature, but nature in general teaches us is the connectivity of everything, and opening up to that. And all of a sudden, wild nature versus built nature starts to dissolve, and you start to see how it is all connected. And not that it's, obviously. So one of the things that was hard though is like from now that I'm in Washington is that the air was so bad there. And there are, I'm not also not saying there's no negativity to some things because, I'd wake up in the morning sometimes and Indianapolis just smelled like burning fucking plastic, man. And
Yeah.
I would like if the dust on in my house was like black dust. It wasn't like the typical brown dusts that I grew up with. And so um it's hard, but like nature is everywhere, and I think it's good to have that connection. And why it's good is because it teaches us the connectivity of everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's available in cities. And it's also incredible too, going back to driving, because it's a big thing for me, is that if you think about how, you have in Indianapolis, it was 800,000 people going to and from work all around the same time. Or what, it was probably, we can say 200,000 people, but like how it works. I think that's pretty incredible that humans do somehow are able to live together
Mm-hmm.
and make it work. And I think that should be that should, I don't know what should be, but that could be a starting point of instead of just being angry at people and yeah, that is when you slow down and listen and take time to be present in those times, that's where the hate and the fear kind of disappears. And I don't have to hate people or myself for living. And yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. And it's, people are just trying to get by. And I think that too, that struggle is beautiful.
Yeah, it's just kind of like anything else. We're just trying to get by and trying to be happy and enjoy life. And yeah, you can't fault people for uh, trying to just do the daily thing. But you can fault people for making the world a much worse place intentionally. Most people out there, I mean, 99.99% of people out there are doing just like us, trying to go to work, have good family time, hang out with their friends. And then there's a few people out there trying to, I don't know, made a deal with the devil, and then they're trying to do some other nefarious stuff. So
Yeah. And I think that to get people behind and following that is a major technique is having people in an elevated emotional state and scared. And all of a sudden, if you're scared, you do things or get behind things that are just, like just objectively horrible. I've voted for, I don't care about like right versus left as much anymore, but I've definitely voted for people and I've given them in my mind, like, well, they attack this country or attack that country, which has happened to every president. This is not one side versus every president has done this.
yeah.
And I gave them leeway because I trusted them and they did it for the right thing. And so I don't fault anybody for that because that's a real experience I had. So, but what got me there was this idea that the world was dying and somebody needed to save it. And this, and then the idea that anybody has a fucking clue on what to do. It's like, yeah, I think, yeah, it's just like, and probably anybody that would take the mantle or take the reins, sorry,
Yeah.
drive the truck is probably pretty crazy in their head that they would to think that they know or that what is best for other people. Oh, that's one of the things I was thinking about that this kind of like goes into. So another thing that my brain does is it, because I talked about this last time. I think the brain is constantly just like forecasting what's going to happen. The upper brain, in a way to like to make predictions, same as forecasting. But what that can do then is it creates this world. My brain has an idea of what the world should be. And like, if somebody's driving, they should drive this way. If I'm coming towards them, they should speed up. If they're coming towards me, they should slow down. If like I have all these ideas of the way that the world should be, and my mind's constantly like judging, okay, are they doing what my brain thinks should be? And that can be really frustrating. It's like such a powerful tool, but at the same time, if I let it like just go, I've decided how every conversation, even not even consciously, my brain's just doing this. Every conversation should go, every footstep should go, how the world should look around me, how everything. And that's kind of this constant battle that I'm having, is like this predictive model that my brain is not reflecting, is putting out into the world, and then pure reality hit me in the face.
Yeah. That's such a good point. I feel like I have to relearn this lesson almost on a daily basis. Because it's like you do, for me, I would make a plan, or I would think, okay, here's how the next day is going to go, or the next week, or whatever. Or if I'm planning something of any sort, I formulate in my mind how that should probably go, or what the results should be. And never does it go according to plan. And so there's something, I think, hardwired in most people's mind, where it's like you're trying to plan, you're trying to get information and data points so you can put it into your predictive model, and then you can create the best plan so you can go into a situation with the best information, and then therefore your outcome is going to be the best according to your plan. And it just, for me, it just doesn't go that way. Not at all. Like I constantly am trying to get different sources of information to try to fit my plan, and to make sure that, and maybe to support the direction I'm going. But it's like, well, that's all fine, but I can't remember the last time something actually went according to plan, the way that I had planned out or thought about it in my head. It just doesn't happen. I mean, I get in my car and drive somewhere and it'll go according to plan. Like I'm going to go to the grocery store, but on on other like important things, it doesn't happen.
Well, even at the grocery store, I don't know how, but it doesn't go according to plan when I see that I have 3 bags of groceries and it's $200. Like my plan is I go get 3 bags of groceries and it's going to be around maybe $50 to $60.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I'm just creating myself this situation of frustration. I mean, and it's like, yeah, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. But isn't that weird about the human mind, or just the way we are as people, that we're trying to get information to put into our model, essentially, that to help predict how things are going to go. I mean, I'm probably I don't know anybody that does it more than me. I probably do it the most of anybody. I just don't have I'm just not using any software to do the model, other than maybe like use AI a little bit to get a little extra data point here or there. Or see how AI would handle it. It is a large language model, so it's taking the data you put in and making a forecast for you.
Yeah.
But my God, I probably do it more than most people, I would bet.
Well, and I don't think this is the thing. I don't think it's bad.
Yeah.
I just think it's a tool. It's, it's okay. I do. Let's be honest. I do think it's bad all the time because it's constantly failing me. But my hope is that someday I don't think it's bad.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just not reality. And that's fine. Like it's just doing its best. And it's so funny that I separate myself from it. Like it's different compartments in my brain too, or different compartments of myself, which is also just a dangerous thing to do. Not dangerous, but but it can be a harmful thing. Is that especially in our society, like we push that to be the override, like that's the important thing, is this analytical, take data, assess it, make conclusions, take data, build a hypothesis, turn it into a theory, and then have your day ruined. Where I don't know, man. It's such a cool
like
thing.
how it is. That's how it is. It's like you already know that it's not going to go according to plan, but you do it anyway, and then you're like disappointed how it didn't go according to plan.
Isn't, but so like, how do you? It comes back to to me, the thought of I'm gonna destroy this, but Buddha talked about how the source of all pain or agony in life or suffering is desire.
Mhm.
Okay, so then just don't desire. Well, then now you're desiring not to desire. So I played that. It was just over and over in my head, and I can't. What is that, number one on his like teachings? I can't get past number one. Like I'm fucking stuck. Like there I am. And so, but also that's where I am. And so I kind of fine with that. But yeah, and then then it goes on to the middle way, or the middle way is to realize that that's part of, like, we're human. That's where we're at. This is my low level interpretation, but so the idea is that you don't chase desires and you don't run away from them. You find this acceptance, right? And so yeah, it's just trying to accept that I have this faulty model that I'm just gonna keep running over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's really cool. It's really irritating. Sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it works out, and then I'm still not satisfied,
Yeah.
So but that it's such a fun, I mean, really that's where when I talk about it, it's fun. When it's happening, it's not fun.
Yeah.
It's just, but I do have more moments where I can just look at my surroundings and just think, man, this is funny. how serious I was taking everything, and none of it worked out. And
yeah,
thankfully, you know,
yeah. Some people are just better at allowing things to happen. I mean, I know some folks that are just like, I don't need to know what the outcome's going to be before I get there. How would I know? But then for me, it's like, oh, I'm trying to plan it out and trying to predict what the outcome is going to be. Other people are just not that way. Um, like maybe a little bit more trusting that the things are going to work out in a good way. I think for me, I want to do my best to make sure nothing bad happens, or I don't get in a bad situation or something like that. Um, Other folks are just like, yeah, it's cool. Like, we'll find out when I get there. I think part of that is like just trusting themselves, maybe, and trusting that uh, things are going to work out in a good way. Trusting that the universe or the creator is protecting them more than I might think for myself. I think that's part of it. And I think there's definitely been times in my life where I'm more kind of in tune with myself, or more in tune with my spirituality, and therefore I'm more trusting. I think in times where I lose track of that, and it's not like it's up or down. It's kind of like there's times where it's up and times where it's down, and then there's uh it's never, for me, it's just never the same. It's not like, okay, for this last 5 years, I totally am spot on with my spirituality and really in tune. It's just totally up and down depending on the day or the week or whatever. For other people, I think they might just have been more in their process, I suppose, like their spiritual process or personal growth process, where they got to maybe a different level. And this part of it, especially like being trusting of what's down the road, it's just, they're not clinging to that desire of what they feel like they need to know before they actually get there. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to look at that, and that predictive part of it versus just allowing things just to happen. Because you in Buddhism, you do hear a lot about that, of like clinging to that desire. And desire is not just like, oh, I desire X, Y, or Z, or I desire this outcome, or I want a new a new set of clothes or a new car or something. It's about anything. The outcomes can be desires. Um, but yeah, for me, I lose track of that sometimes. Just allowing things to happen rather than trying to chart the course, so to say.
yeah, if for me, it seemed like when I was going through that, and I'm still going through that, but when I really was focused on that part of the teaching, I just realized every thought I have is a desire.
Mm.
Every word is a desire, so wild.
Mm.
And yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting, yeah, I don't know how other people do it. And it's probably, you have to have a little bit of, or you don't have to, I use those, but just have a little just patience with yourself. And
Do you think that's what it is, like trusting yourself? I didn't mean to interrupt
I
there.
do.
Yeah.
Just where you're at, I do think that, because I've had points in meditation, I will tell you, where I am one with the universe, and I'm like filled with this sense of just awe at just experience itself. And then in my back of my head, I'm like, I'm using fake words or fake things, but oh yeah, I have to do, Susan wanted me to do blah, 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 X, Y, Z, and I need to get this. And then it goes off. And it's like, okay, I could just not think about work or not think about this other stuff, but it's so important to me. It's, and what that in my head makes me think is that, well, that's still my lesson. I don't need to, it's not that I need to run away from work. I need to do X. It's that that part of life in this kind of more material realm is still very important to me.
Mhm.
And I just, my whole, I'm just trying to be okay with that stuff affecting me. And um even though I know in the long run, I can logically think out 350 years and just know that any of my actions are just not pointless, but have very little impact.
Yeah.
And but they're important to me, and I just have to be thankful for that, that I that it's important for me, and that and then I do get these times. I remember talking to you years ago, but and you mentioned, so the trauma of coming from these experiences, these like enlightenment, these connections with the universe, and that there is a trauma to coming back because
Mhm.
everything feels kind of mundane.
Mhm.
And do you remember talking about that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just I mean I could feel it right now because it's just you can have these just incredibly blissed out experiences. Like the feeling of it is so intense and so incredible and wonderful that when you come away from that and you go back into the to the regular world, it's just like, oh man, this is a real letdown. I'm gonna I'm gonna go back up on the mountain and
Yeah.
I'm gonna, get back to where I was. And I think when you're not able, at least for me, some people might be able, like where they're at with their process, they might be able to carry that forward in a really good way. For me, it was like a hard break. It's like you have this really intense experience. You might be feeling like you're at one with the universe, or you experience being completely one with the water. Uh, that is such an incredible and powerful experience. And then when you can't get back to it, or you have to go experience the regular world away from that, and you still can't get back to it, it's like, man, I want to go back to what I experienced. I want to go deeper into that and live life in that direction. I just think it's so challenging. I really had a tough time with that. Um, and I think part of a problem I had at the time was uh, life was suddenly changing. It wasn't like, oh, the my place up on top of that mountain on the island, uh, everything's just open and I have all free time and whatever. It was more like, oh, I'm at this point. I got to this point, and now now I have to move, or I can't live at this place anymore. Like this is my dream home, and this is the place I want to spend the rest of my life, and now I can't do it. And so I felt like that stuff that I was exposed to and that experience I was exposed to, uh, I feel like that was ripped away in some ways. And how do I get back to it? Man, I struggled so much. I went I went backpacking for 2 weeks. I went up into the Teton Wilderness at 10,000 feet and camped out, trying to get back to it. I went up into the North Cascades National Park, way up on the mountains, and tried to get back to it. I went and meditated at waterfalls and just did all kinds of stuff. And I struggled to get back to what I had been experiencing. And it just, oh, it was so difficult. Super, super difficult. And it never happened. It didn't happen again. And you know, for some people it can be locational, but there are definitely power spots in this world. And maybe I had the great fortune, and maybe and you too, to have been at a place that's like your power spot. It could be in your bedroom, it could be in your little meditation spot in a corner of the house, it could be over there by the pond on the mountain, you know, or whatever. Some people can have it just laying, you know, in their living room, whatever. Um, but yeah, that being kind of taken away from that is really tough. That was really tough for me for quite a while.
And there, we see those things, or I interpreted that as the spiritual experience. And I think what I've been learning is that this is the spiritual experience. That's the spiritual experience.
Yeah.
It's it was this experience that I would compare everything else to.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that was, it was really hard because I just want to go back there. That's where I belong. But I started just becoming aware that, like, no, that wasn't the only spiritual experience, and
Yeah.
that the hard times are the spiritual experiences. The pain is a spiritual experience. The laughing is, the crying is, the, like, all of these things. There, that was it. And it's another thing that my brain had decided, oh, you know, or like, even it's so simple as, and that's why breathing and meditation, I think, can be really helpful, because when you think about meditating, you think, oh, I have no thoughts, or I feel my body, and I'm not having to struggle. Well, for me, meditation can be a struggle. And it's always like, oh, I have to come back to my breath. Oh, I have to come back to my breath. That's it. It's not like, oh, I was meditating and everything was perfect. No, the meditation is like the awareness, like, oh, I need to come back to my breath. That's as important, or as incredible, that I can be aware of that, as the oh, I'm just in bliss.
Yeah.
And the feeling is so different. And it's not that I want pain or I want suffering. It's um I just don't have to be afraid of it anymore. It's just like, oh, this is the human experience. I'm so, you know, like, it just feels so uh fortunate to have that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that, you know, as long as I'm breathing, I'm I'm fortunate. I'm not saying I have this all the time. I think that those times of forgetting that, I'm just saying those are important.
Yeah. You know, and it made me think of how we go through these transitions. We talked about transitions earlier. And one of the difficult things for me, like in what I was describing earlier, like if you go from a place of like being completely blissed out and you're you're feeling this oneness with the water and the universe and whatever, and then you're taken away from that, and then suddenly life is different. For me, I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't know I didn't realize that, oh, I needed to be in a transition now. Like now my spiritual process it's shifted from that to something else, and that's just the way it goes. I didn't really read anything or have anybody talk to me about that. But eventually I got to a spot where, say like my sister passed away and she was in her dying process, right? And I was talking to one of my brothers about this very issue. And you know what he said to me? He said, well, this is your spiritual path now. Like that was then, this is your path now. Like you got to remember that your spiritual process goes through changes, and maybe it's one thing one day, but it's something else the next day. And right now it's family. Your spiritual process is about family. And you know, the difficult thing with spiritual process sometimes, or just personal growth work, is that there's no chart to follow. There's no there's no roadmap to be like, okay, now I'm at this stage, and here's what I could look forward to, or here's what a transition, you're probably going to experience a transition. I think when folks have like a spiritual guide or a guru or whatever, maybe they get that and they can talk about it, and that's all well and good. But if you don't have that and you're off kind of on doing this on your own, it's just you definitely run into these bumps in the road where it's like, oh my God, I experienced one thing and now I don't know where don't know where I am and what I'm doing in this personal growth work. So that transition time can be way more difficult. But like you said, it's just accepting where you're at, and that any of this is part of your process. That's really where it's at. It's just initially when you're a young blood, if you will, a young in the process, you don't know what the full process looks like. You don't know all these details about transitioning and everything during your personal growth work, and so it can be more challenging that way. I think if you had a teacher and a guide that's like holding your hand through some of this and other people to talk to about it, I think for me that would have lightened the difficult times, I think.
I totally agree. Yeah, you're just kind of blindsided and you don't even know it's happening.
Yeah, it's not like you get a warning like, hey, you're going to transition. You're going to experience this different thing now. It's because it felt like a hard cutoff. It wasn't like a soft, relaxing, like here, now we're into something new. It was, for me, it felt pretty severe, just totally truncated.
I've even had that with traveling. It's not until I get done with, if I go on a trip, I'll get back and I start thinking about like everything that happened when I'm in it. And usually that's more of a positive feeling, but when I'm in it, I'm just in it. And I'm just, like doing all these things. And then I get back and it's like, oh man, that happened. In those times of big change. And yeah, and you're just at that point, you're just getting by. And I think that's okay. I think that's okay to like not recognize it as a part of your spiritual growth, because you're doing you're just working, and not in a manual labor or whatever. You're just doing it. And yeah. Oh man. It's so it just annoying. It's difficult though. You feel disconnected. You feel like you're alone and nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and almost like you don't even know how to. I mean, for me, there was definitely a time where even my closest friends and family, I didn't even know how to relate. Sometimes it's like when you said alone and isolated, that's exactly how I felt. It's just like, man, there are so few people out there that I know that have been through anything like this, and I can't talk to my family members about it because you just can't. You can't talk to your closest friends about it because they haven't been through it. It's just very very challenging to go through that sometimes alone and not have anybody as like a sounding board. Very very strange. And then your friends and your family, if they haven't been through anything like that, it's like, man, I want to talk to him about this and tell him about it, but I risk, there's something at risk when you do that. And so for me, I might have said a few things to a few people, but I realized after I did that was a mistake, and I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Exact, because it's trying to explain for me, like it's just trying to explain the unexplainable
Mhm.
of, and yeah, it's this, it's so personal, and yeah, it's so hard to explain. And then sometimes when I would explain it to people, it downgraded it because the word model just does not fit.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
had this, one of the things I was doing um was uh so the body, I believe, has a bunch of ways to communicate.
Mhm.
And so there's like, hormones, like, okay, the whole endocrine system, and then you have like you can do like touch is a communication, how somebody touches you, or how you touch yourself is like something. You visual communication, I can use my hands. And then we have auditory communication, and then there's just all these different ways for the body to communicate.
Mhm.
And we we turn that into words. um, so one of the things that, if you say apple in your head, if you just think apple, and then if you now say apple but be aware of your tongue, at
Mhm.
least me, like, my tongue will move, like, to say the word apple. There's some, like, my body is, and then if you say the heart, like, you're turning all this different communication into like English language and auditory language. And so what I was doing was, in meditation, I was really focused on um, understanding my body communication, but not relying it on the interpretation into words.
Mhm.
I wanted to learn how my body communicated. And I think about these things. I wish I still did this more often. But it was a huge thing for me to go beyond turning it into words. And uh I don't even know what my point was, but it it was, maybe it was that you can't, there's just things you can't communicate with other people. And then
Yeah.
it's like when I do turn it into words, it takes it from experience down to this language model, and it can never be the true representation. Like, we could use apple again. So every apple is its own thing. Apples are green, apples are red. There's different levels of red. The apples are waxy from the store, or maybe dull, more dull, like off the tree. Anyway, there's just, and you can just go in, and then, okay, take that word apple and then fucking eat an apple.
Yeah.
Okay, then that experience is a whole nother level of what apple is. Apple is communicating to me with my taste buds, my um olfactory, my nose, all these different things that so anyway, that point is, then when that's an apple that most people that you and I have met or grown up with, like, know what an apple is. Now you take this spiritual experience, trying to explain that, and it just feels like, oh, I've just turned it into something. Have you
Yeah.
ever had that where it's just like,
Oh,
oh, now it just feels gross?
yeah, totally. That's such a great analogy. Probably the best way I've ever heard that explained. And for me, it's like it just lost all of its power.
Yep.
Like I just I just had this extraordinary experience that felt like it just gave me all kinds of power. Like I'm not talking about like physical strength
Yeah.
or like I'm able to do a like big feats of like powerful things. It's just like you feel a sense of like internal power. Uh, and the moment that I spoke it out and tried to describe it to somebody, it's like it just went out the window. And I tried to do that a couple times. And I really wrestled with that, man. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Are you not supposed to talk to people about it? Like, I feel the need to talk to, like, for you, I think if you and I were to sit around and talk about these things like we're doing now, or describe in detail what we actually experienced, I think when a person can meet you in that place, when they're right there with you, like, hey man, I get that, I understand, and they're holding that space for you, that's totally different than if you're to talk to somebody and try to describe something to somebody and they've never experienced, because you can feel it. You
Yeah.
can, in the like one or two sentences in, oh shit, they haven't been through this. I shouldn't even be saying this. I should backtrack, but I'll just finish my statement. And so, God, man, it's like total loss of the power that you had by having that experience. And it's just like, oh, it doesn't feel right. you're, I think you're totally spot on. That's such a good way to describe it, because that's exactly how it feels. And sometimes people will ask, uh, at least people ask me a few times about experiences, and I started to be really cautious about it. Like I could talk to you about it, but I wouldn't, and maybe one or two other people, maybe, but I don't talk about the stuff unless I know people have pretty much experienced it or can hold the space. Because I think that ability for somebody else to really hear you and understand when you're trying to describe that it's sort of like your power, like you're in a circle and the power is in the circle and it stays there. But if you're out of the circle, then the power just dissipates. It's like it's
Yeah.
totally lost. It goes it goes out back out to the universe, and you have to redo it, you know. But I think that's the way that I would describe it, is like in that circle, it's held there. It's held between two people. It doesn't dissipate. Um, it might even feel more empowering. But gosh, say it to the wrong person, and maybe it's not even the wrong person. Maybe it could be you're not strong enough or I'm not strong enough. Uh, and I kind of have wondered about that in the past. Is like, was I not strong enough to be able to tell this to somebody that didn't experience it? Why is that power being lost? Why did I feel, oh man, it's tainted? Now that I said it, it feels tainted. Something's wrong. And I I have wondered about that, or I used to wonder about it, if there was something within myself that I wasn't strong enough yet to be speaking it out. What do you think about that side of it?
Well, yeah, I think for one, you feel like you have to prove it, the
Yeah.
experience. And that just separates you from it. Because then you're separating yourself from you, saying, "Oh, well, now my experience isn't enough. I have to like prove it to somebody." Or if somebody else has had similar experiences, and I do think these are so unique, and but had maybe something similar, then you don't feel like you have to prove it, and then you don't turn it into this, like, you don't take this huge thing and turn it into this little thing, and then just like, yeah. I also think that the trying to prove something is just, it's hard, and it hurts your experience of it. And then part of it is like, if you start to see I'm going to say magic, even though I don't believe in magic, but or supernatural. I don't believe in supernatural because it's so natural. We have humans have had these experiences for so long, but that feeling, that loss of it is probably part of it, because there's nothing to lose, which is so irritating.
Yeah.
You're like, but no, I lost it. Like, it's gone.
Yeah.
Fuck, it feels like it lost, and it's just like, it's not lost. And that's so frustrating. And I don't know how else to explain it. And it's just, I'm like, if I really think body centeredness is really important, because it is how we interact with this universe. And I think that just start simple with, like, if you think about a cut on your hand, we take it for granted that it just heals.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't see how fucking incredible that is.
Yeah.
And we don't, and it hurts. Fuck, it hurts. And then it hitches. And then it's gone, and it's just a scar.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow that's not magical.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate these words. Fucking hate these words, but you know what I mean. It's not extraordinary. It's only not extraordinary because we do it all the time.
Yeah.
And like, the sound of music for me is amazing, but it also can, you put Britney Spears on and it's excruciating. I'd much rather cut myself and heal again than listen to it. And not because she's not an amazing artist, it's just because it's not what I like. And so, yeah, that is, it's reminding you, maybe if we can look at it this way, is that's not the first time you lost that. You've lost that when you've forgotten how cool it is that your fingernails grow. You've lost it every time you forget that the sun, the beauty of a sunrise, or everything that happens every day, or that grass just grows in the summer, if it gets the right conditions. But yeah, you've lost that all the time. You're supposed to lose it. That's it's like, thankfully we get to relearn it. And
well, here's a question for you. What's the point of those incredible experiences of say you feel at one with the universe and feel joined with it, or whatever your experience might have been? What is the whole point of it? So you lose it afterwards, you lose it, or you speak it out and it feels tainted and it feels like you lost it in some ways. Then what did you feel like the point of all of it was? And if it's hard to regain or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know if there is a point.
Mm-hmm.
It's the point is, yeah, I don't fucking know. Yeah, it's a great question. Man, I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you a weird thing that was happening to me for at least a year. Trying to remember, maybe a year and a half, or even 2 years. Every morning I would wake up at 5 a.m, and I was in Indianapolis, and I would see 1 to 3 shooting stars every morning. And about the time I'd be looking up in the sky and like, oh, I guess it's not going to happen today. And it would
Wow.
What's the point?
Yeah.
It has no meaning.
Yeah.
But it meant everything to me. I don't know what the fucking point is. Yeah. And I don't know if it means anything.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, okay, well, it's not going to happen today. Now, I would sit for 35 minutes at least looking at the stars because it was like the perfect time. Because it was really the only time you could see really good stars was like the late or early morning, late night, you know, and I go to bed so early. So, and I love looking at the sky and just, um, and so that was the point, was maybe to look into the stars.
Yeah.
That's the point. And with these like, and that's not like, it sounds like it's not connected, but it made me feel connected to something. It made me feel connected to the universe somehow.
Mhm.
But I don't know what the point is. I mean, is it as simple just a reminder that of connection, and um, sometimes it does. I do think that our um, our focus on the logical um, thinking as being the most powerful tool in the universe, to remember that there is, like you said, this power, and it's never a power to like, I've never been in those experiences and thinking like, fuck, you know what? This world would be a lot better if we killed a bunch of people. I've always just felt like, man, things are going to be okay.
Mhm.
And that there's a power in that, where I don't have to change the universe. I can just, it's like, it's, and I'm not saying like to take, it takes away suffering in the world at all. I'm still totally, I don't know how to balance that of seeing the suffering and then being okay with the universe. I don't know what to do with that.
Mhm.
But maybe that's what the point of those times are, is just it's the universe giving you a break. It's like, um, you know, I think of like the great mother and the great father, and the great mother just provides,
Mhm.
you know. I have this image that I was given of this old woman in this hut, and a soldier comes in. Oh man, it makes me want to cry. And soldier comes in, and the mother hands her food, and another soldier comes in that's obviously an enemy and starts rustling through and tearing shit up in the hut. And the mother like hands him food. And the guy that, the other one who's like, I see him as dead, is just hurt. So the mother feeds the fucking soldier that killed his family or killed, you know, and the mother just provides.
Mhm.
She doesn't see that shit.
Yeah.
And she just and he was like, why are you doing this? And he got so angry. It's just what the earth does, you know?
Mhm.
So I don't know. And maybe having a connection to that. And I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. And yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what the point is, Monty.
Yeah.
It just, yeah.
I think through my part of it, it was definitely getting connected here, like really being connected to your heart and your own spirit. Um, Like I think I think being connected to the greater something allows you to be connected more to yourself. Like there might be parts of us at different levels of who Colin is. There's Colin just as most people see Colin. There's a Colin that's a heartful Colin. There's a Colin that's like your spirit, the part that people don't get to see, that maybe only Colin knows, or Colin and maybe his mom knows a little bit. But I feel like we as people are different. We have different levels within us. And there's a level where when we get connected and when we plug in to the universe, or we plug into something much greater than ourselves, we understand ourselves better. We understand our potential more. We just understand the greater Colin or the greater Monty on a bigger, much bigger level. And I think it also speaks to like our our capacity of like who we are and what humanity really is. And I think for me and in that whole experience, and in like I was writing the book at the time as well, and so it's like for me it was a bit of a revelation of like what humanity has been in the past and what people have created humanity to be. There are times when people have destroyed it. There are times when people did the stuff that we're doing, and they found a way to create a world that was going that route. And to me, I think that was when I looked at the world in a bigger way, and I think historically as well. When you see that there are actually times when people were living this way and it was just natural and it was expanding, it's so diametrically opposite of what we're experiencing today. And I think for me that helped me see the potential in just people in general, or just the potential in humanity. It was just like, oh my God, man, if for somehow, some way, the world could pivot again to that direction, oh my God, what an amazing place and communities we could have. Not that there wouldn't be any problems, but that's one of the things that I took away from it, is really knowing, like all the way from knowing more in depth of who I am, all the way to understanding more of the world and more of the way humanity could be. And it helped me see what humanity used to be. I think without having those kind of experiences, you can't read stuff in history and look at things in history and study history and never have these kind of experiences that we're talking about and look at it and be like, oh, I understand it. Because you can't. there's no way that if you didn't have like a little bit of understanding of this kind of spiritual process, you couldn't look at something and decipher it in a certain way that allows you to really see it the way it really was. So I think for me, the power of it, it was powerful on one hand to have that experience and then see the potential for humanity, but also kind of painful because of where humanity is. Like there's so many good people in this world, and the world is so awesome and so many cool things are happening, and yet there's just so much insanity as well. And that's painful to see and experience, because it's like, there's a better way. Most people on the planet know there's a better way, but I don't know. That's in a nutshell, that's what I've taken away from those kind of experiences. And Yeah, and I think also it's just having the experience is maybe enough. Like you don't need to, a person doesn't need to try to search for the bigger perspective per se. Like I think I always was looking for that. Um, but in that moment of having those experiences, oh my God, it's something that just sticks with you for the rest of your life. And you're always going to look back at it and be like, oh my God, I can't, I can't believe I experienced that. I don't really cling to it like I used to. I really felt like I clung to it for a long time, always trying to go back. I want to figure out how to get back to it and have that experience again. But like you said earlier, when you have these, cling to these desires like that, it doesn't open the door for you. It keeps it shut, it feels like.
I totally agree with what you're saying. Yeah. And I know that clean. I still have it.
Mm.
Every time I close my eyes to meditate, I'm like, oh, is it going to happen today?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so, which again, I think is important. Just recognize it for that,
Yeah.
and, but definitely, I do think I just, we haven't talked much about your research, but it made me think about like reading the Tao Te Ching. They talk about the ancients or
Mhm.
whatever, and then it always just seems in mythology there was always this people before,
Mhm.
and that were just had this enlightenment or and it's just so funny because I just took for granted that our history just told us that was just a, a mythos, or it was just mythology and wasn't real. And and now I see it more as like, not that I totally prescribe to this, but this like Western thought just downplaying the history of the peoples, and it's like, no, they decided what the history was.
Mhm.
And man, it just seems, yeah. But I see what you're saying without understanding that there's this whole broader connection. All we think the world changes by war, or the world changes by some sort of whatever economic system is being employed at that time.
Mhm.
And that's the way the world changes, or that's what drives society. But yeah, if you have these more kind of spiritual experiences, um, the you see that oh, there is another way to organize and to grow. Is that kind of what you're
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah, I think yeah, I think the way that I would kind of rephrase it would just be that, like, from from that kind of experience, I think you uh can really see like the potential for humanity. And because you've had a certain spiritual experience, maybe it allows you to see what people were doing in the past. Whereas, like at least for me, I
Yeah,
used to
I
I used
totally
to look
agree.
at things like through the Western, a very Western academic science-based, like Western science kind of perspective. And like, there's some very, very, very strong biases in Western way of thinking that don't allow for room for like cultural perspective or spiritual perspective. And it's only evidence based, and evidence for on that side is, something that's validated by a Western academic. And so that can be pretty difficult, especially when when you're in a spiritual process and you're experiencing these things, and it allows you to kind of open the door to understanding more about why people might have built a structure the way they built it. Like why, what was beneficial for that in meditation, for example, or why would they, uh, energetically, why did they have certain beads or necklaces or anything like that? Why would they have certain platforms where they do ceremonies? Why would things be arranged in a certain pattern? Like for meditation or for a spiritual process, why is that important? All these kind of things. But I think I think for me, the spiritual experience is more than anything revealed to me, like not just about myself, but looking into the past to see what humanity was actually doing and what they were capable of. And I I think it's really interesting because you mentioned wars a little bit there, and it was so interesting doing work and researching this stuff. Like you would see times of when papers were published or things were published. If it was in the Vietnam War era, man, it was about everything was interpreted about war. It was insane. In like the 70s and 60s and 70s is all about war or other war, big wartime efforts. Yeah, I was a little bit baffled by that, and I often wondered why people would interpret things like that. It's like, okay, now we're in a different era. Now people are interpreting things differently. It's not all about war. Okay, so there's not that many wars going on. So what was going on in the academic world at that time? And I think the answer in part is funding. Why were people interpreting things in a certain light? Well, academics follow funding. And when the hot button topic is war, well, that's what they're going to research on and write on. When the hot button topic is climate change, that's what people are going to research and write on. Uh, I just thought that was kind of an interesting sidebar there, that takes away from how we actually understand humanity and the past. Because when we don't really fully understand the past, we don't understand really what the human potential is. It's like if a lot of things are interpreted incorrectly, I don't know. I think that puts us on the wrong trajectory. And I think that's been a that's been a problem for a while. So I think the when we have these kind of experiences and you can look back at times in humanity and kind of bring to the surface maybe what people were doing, I just feel like it's more empowering because the world certainly has not been engulfed in war forever. There's definitely been eras of peace and there's been eras of war, but in times of peace, there's been really incredible things that have happened. Um, Unfortunately, we're maybe not at that point, but kind of. I think it's interesting, like right now, like we're in some amazing, really amazing times, but at the same time, very, very like worrisome and everything. And but back to kind of the initial thought we started with, um, God, I feel a lot better kind of turning off the noise of the world for a while. And when I was on Orcas Island, just working on myself for those years, I've totally tuned out. Like I didn't turn on anything. In fact, I had a cell phone for a while, and then I got rid of it. I didn't I didn't watch anything, and I had some really nice people I met on the island one time, and and this guy said to me, "Oh, so ignorance is bliss." And I'm like, "Yeah, pretty blissed out. I'm pretty happy. I don't I
Well,
don't need to be surrounded by all that noise all the time."
well, I'll tell you this because looking back at that time you were on the island, that's really when the whole world went to shit, and it's
Mhm.
your fault.
Yeah. You know,
If only you would have had a cell phone and a TV, dude, we would be so much better right now.
oh man, I often talk to some folks about that, and it's like, man, that was like it felt like the high point. I mean, maybe it wasn't, but for like world relations, it felt like things were pretty good, and then things kind of went downhill. But I
And
can
then
I
you
can
got a
take the
cell
charge.
phone.
It might be my fault because I couldn't figure out how to get T-Mobile. I just went to went to Rogers Wireless over in Canada, so I got charged international roaming
Oh, I
fees.
remember you saying that.
You remember that?
Oh,
Oh,
that's
dude.
ridiculous.
And they couldn't figure it out, so I was like, well, cancel. Done with it.
So one of the things I do think too these experience help me with is kind of cutting through the bullshit. It's
Mhm.
like, did you? I don't remember the exact time, but when I found out about product placement in movies,
Mhm.
the way I looked at movies, and somebody would be, like here, I need my big pen, and it was like nowhere. There'd just be a Coca-Cola can and sitting in the thing, the
Yeah.
forefront or something. It didn't really. I didn't stop watching movies. But when I saw that, I was at least aware that they were fucking with my subconscious.
Mhm.
And, it wasn't like like I said, I didn't just turn it off. But I think that sometimes it gives you a broader perspective. And if you understand some history and how it's like how you were talking about, even how the papers are like war, come from a war perspective, you just see that's happening and you try to like still from it gain something if you can about history, but you also realize, oh my gosh, this narrative, you know, and it's just it's I think it's good. It's hard though, um, because then it turns me into a skeptic about everything I hear.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important to have perspective with that. Like when any story I read or anything, it's like, okay, realize the bias
Yeah.
and, or try to a little bit.
Yeah. Sometimes it's also just about entertainment. I mean,
A hundred percent.
you'd like to be educated and you'd like to know the total truth, but we are in a process of like, if we want to learn history, for example, we can't know 100% because we're piecing together, just like we were talking about before with our predictive mind. We're taking data points and we're trying to identify what something was based on the information that we've gathered. Um, and so it's entertainment value. It's like maybe a little bit different perspective. Um, but I think especially maybe history more than like material science or like other engineering or something. Like that kind of, there's certain sciences that are exact, like physics can be exact. Whereas history, well, that's a lot harder because if you look at 500 years ago or 5,000 years ago, you can't get all the data that you need. You're going to be left with these big gaps and you weren't there to witness it. So you don't know totally.
Yeah.
And so it's always got to be taken with some things like, okay, it's entertaining. Okay, I'm learning something from it. But also realizing there's still gaps in our knowledge. So I think that's kind of important to remember when you're learning about history or anything that's not an exact science. And you were talking about like mythology and that sort of thing before. Um, I think that was a really good point you made. Like the Western way is definitely sought to like essentially essentially make mythology a fake, like false. It's just a story. It's false. But most mythos is like comes from true story. There might be like more story with it, but most of it actually was based on factual occurrences or factual events. And that's that's maybe something that I think in our Western way of being taught that we lose sight of for sure. And that's to me, I feel like that's some pretty fascinating stuff. Like when you really get into the mythologies, some of it's just fascinating, just awesome. And then when you learn like some of the factual stuff that it's actually based on, it's even more exciting. But part of it's deprogramming what we've learned about what a mythology actually is.
Yeah, and I would just say with like even physics, how long did we hear about string theory?
Yeah.
Just complete hogwash.
Mhm.
Like, but it was entertaining. And
Mhm.
maybe it gave us a little insight about waves and frequencies and everything, but we also have to be careful with, like, I think science was always, not always, but some scientists realize it's just a method of inquiry and argumentation.
Mhm.
It's just another model. And when it's held up as, when it's taught like a cookbook, or things are like, or even think of our model of the atom. I think you had to grow up with this, where it was like, a center ball with spinning balls around. It's not
Mhm.
an atom. It's a field of probability, and then some sort of mass around, or mass with some sort of field of probability. I mean, it's just, I don't know what it is, you know, but science doesn't have to tell me what it is.
Yeah.
It tells me, like, let's fucking explore this,
Yeah.
But so I think we have to be careful with all of that.
Mhm.
Of of Yeah, I kind of, and I think I've already told you about this, but one of the things about like traditional Chinese or Ayurvedic medicine is it's based on just 3,000 years of clinical, what am I trying to say, like, they've just tried it so many times, and they've figured out, like, well, this herb does this, well, what are the chemical reactions that are happening, how does it impact your uh the thyroid or whatever. Well, we don't know that. We just know if we give this herb, it helps things out. And there's a little more, obviously with diagnosis and Chinese medicine theory, but in general, that's kind of like, it has a bunch of clinical studies to support it.
Mhm.
And so, where our science, medical science, is just really hard, like, we know what activates what and why this works, and target tissues, whatever. Well, I was like, my doctor had me on statins for because I had high uh lipid count. Is that right? Triglycerides. Anyway, and so I was like, well, it doesn't really attack, it doesn't impact triglycerides. It's more of a cholesterol thing. And she was like, well, you just have to take it. I was like, why do I have to take it? And she's like, well, they found that people that take this um, statin are reduced chance of heart attack. And so anyway, so it didn't make any sense to me. And I was like, well, what's it impacting? And she's like, well, we don't know, but clinical studies just show it. And so, well, that's not on the bottle,
Yeah.
we don't really know why this works. It just works. That's not where we're sold by science.
Mhm.
That's not the selling point. The selling point is we create this. Anyway, I don't want to go through it, but we create this hypothesis, we test it, we figure out, and that hypothesis is informed by observation, or can be, and it's definitely supported by observation. And all of these things, everything's very logical and blah, blah, blah. Science doesn't happen that way. Science is human beings. That's why we always have to, like, test our biases and make sure that we're can recreate it no matter who else is doing it. And anyway, so it's all just it's not turned science into a religion.
Yeah.
And the fact that it doesn't have hard answers or exact solutions, and it can be disproved as its power, not its weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And so to act like it's just an all-knowing or just there's a set science. Anyway.
Did you ever have a difficult time kind of melding those? Because we both were in sciences. It's still are in some sense, but also we have this substantial amount of like spiritual process that we went through. Did you ever have a difficult time kind of melding those at all, or did you not? Was that?
Oh yeah. It went from like grew up very spiritual, loved math, so I got into physics and chemistry, and then I kind of went off after high school and just kind of explored the world, very spiritual. Went back to college, became an atheist because of a lot of pain that was going on at that, like a lot of things that happened in my life, and was all science. Loved it, still love it, but it's hard for me to jive those two. But I did take this, one of the best classes I ever took was the philosophy of science, and I think every scientist should take it. And because science is, we're still human, and I just think that to understand that nothing's infallible. That's what I would always say. If you want true, or somebody to say something's 100% true, you either have to go to a mathematician or go to a preacher. Mm-hmm. Mathematicians because it's just a model, and a preacher because they're foolish enough to say, something is something. Mm-hmm. with no, just you have to be faith based, and sometimes the world just there's limitations to our knowledge. Yeah And that's okay. That's life that's what makes life fun. But I get really nervous when people spout scientific things and as truths. They're just think of like gravity, something that we experience every day. Newton's theory of gravity was amazing, but then Einstein came around. His theory of gravity is amazing. I don't know if either of them are right. They're useful, though. Yeah,
they're certainly useful. I was thinking, like, Western science today is one of the youngest sciences that exists. It's like, what, a couple hundred years old?
Yeah.
The other sciences are, ancient sciences are thousands of years old, many, many thousands of years old. People studying like, astronomy and astrology and, following the sun, moon, and stars to create sacred calendars or whatever. That's been going on for so long. And for me, I think we definitely have a big pulse in science in the last couple hundred years, and that's great. But I think it's wrong to look at that and say, oh, everything else that came before is they had it all wrong. We got it all right today.
I really believed that science was this endeavor to find truth, and I still think it's a great way, but I think that you have to be careful of scientists and institutions and funding and all these things, and I think it's a great method of inquiry. And I
Mhm.
think that every theory is an argument, and it should
Mhm.
be treated as an argument, not an absolute. So
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a good point for sure. Man.
Monty, I have to go though.
Okay. It's been probably what, an hour and a
I
half?
think it's been a couple.
Okay. Well,
But yeah, oh, it's so
in the,
great.
in the future, we're going to try to keep them at about an hour, I think, something like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
And we're going to be on next weekend. We'll figure out
Yeah.
whether that's Saturday or Sunday morning, but whatever works for you.
Okay, awesome.
Sweet, man. Well, good to connect with you, Colin, and we'll catch you next weekend.
All right, I'll see you next weekend.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.